nothing else, we should develop the ability to convey ideas because, I mean, is there anything else in your life that's more worth conveying than your feelings of love? Anything that's worth conveying more than admitting your flaws so that you can fix them? Not to beat yourself up so that you can fix them, and being able to explain what it is that's motivating you and why. Be able to compliment yourself in meaningful ways. To be able to share your secrets with somebody, a specific somebody, so that you can be known fully and completely. I mean, how wonderful would it be to be able to show everything to somebody and be loved anyway? If nothing else, I can't think of any other reason to be good at articulating yourself. Do we have trouble telling people that we hate them?
Yes.
No. Not really. It's pretty easy for us to spread hate. Maybe it might be difficult to tell a person that. Just walk up to them, I hate you, and walk away. But we have no problem. I mean, you ever see someone get pissed off at someone for the way they were parking and they're yelling at them?
Yeah.
You ever seen someone do like a really incredible parking job and someone go, that's a great parking job right there? I don't know, we have difficulty complimenting ourselves and also complimenting other people. Other categories of things that are hard to say?
Flaws.
Flaws. Whose flaws?
Our flaws.
Our own flaws. So that's interesting. It's difficult for us to self-compliment, but we also have difficulty admitting flaws.
Exactly. That's my point is proven. We're full of shit.
Yeah. Yeah. This is what you would call a paradox. These are both true. I can't compliment myself, but I also can't criticize myself. And if you think about it, the way the ways in which we talk about ourselves, if I were to say, like, are you a good person? Oh yeah, I'm a great person. Are you really a good person? Well, I mean, I haven't killed anybody. Is that the standard? I'm not the best person in the world. Nobody is asking me for the best person in the world. It's kind of like if I ask you, like you're eating some birria, and I go, is that good birria? I mean, it's not the best in the world, but I didn't ask you if it was the best. I asked if it was good. There's only one best in the world. It's like if I ask you, are you rich? Well, I mean, I'm not Elon Musk. Well, there is only one Elon Musk. I'm not asking you for Elon Musk. I'm asking you if you're rich. We have difficulty sometimes answering these questions about ourselves, and we like to sit kind of in this comfortable middle, where I don't want to compliment myself because I don't love myself enough, but because I don't love myself enough, I'm also not willing to admit my flaws. And some of us, we're willing to admit our flaws, but we're not willing to compliment ourselves. And of course, then you have narcissists. So it's this strange paradox between which we sit. So I'm asking because I'm looking at this list, and we seem to be connecting the idea of being able to express what's on our mind and intelligence. But I don't know why we would need intelligence for any of these things here. Like recognizing your flaws, you need intelligence for perhaps, but not to admit the ones that you seem to have. I don't know why we would need to have intelligence to tell secrets, or to self-compliment, or to express love. You might need to have intelligence to do it well, but of course that's the dangerous thing. You get somebody who's good enough with words, and they're not an ethical person. I mean, gosh, yeah, just look through history. I don't even know where to start with something like that. Who do we always go to when we say someone who was great with words and did terrible evil?
Hitler.
We always go straight to Hitler with that. Yeah, and that's the thing. He was a great speaker. And so this is one of those reasons that it can be argued that the first kind of an education that a person should get should be a moral education, an ethical education. I wonder how many of us have somebody in our lives who've taken time to talk to us about that, about doing the right thing, and moreover, what the right thing is. Or as Marcus Aurelius says, stop arguing about what it is to be a good person. Go out and be a good person. But of course, we have to first know what it is. We have to know what it is. And it seems intuitive to us. Oh, I wouldn't lie. Don't cheat. Don't steal. But those are mantras that we hear. I don't know if those are mantras that we internalize and act through. But yeah, before you become a powerful, articulate person. By the way, this is why you should read. This is why we should do what we do here. Because there's nothing more powerful in the world than an articulate speaker. Who led the Civil Rights Movement?
Which one?
The main one in the 60s, the one that we all know about.
Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King Jr. And who was his number 2 person? Yeah. What was the name of the person who originally, not Rosa Parks, but actually I guess the first 5 people who actually initiated this bus boycott and refused to get on, who acted? We don't know, do we? But we know the guy who gave the speeches. We know the guy who got over at the Washington Monument and he gave the I Have a Dream speech. Why? Because words endure. The person who's articulate and powerful, that's the person who moves masses. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't get out there with an AK-47 and say, "Stay off the buses. Do not violently resist." He gave a speech that convinced people to not be on the buses. He gave a speech that encouraged people to not violently resist. And where did he get that idea from? He got that idea from a guy named Henry David Thoreau, who did something very similar about 100 years earlier. And so, nonviolent resistance is a hard thing. I mean, think about that. You try to organize people and you tell them, "Hey, we're going to go out there tomorrow and we're going to protest." And then the people are like, "Good." And then you tell them the cops are going to show up with batons. And then the people are like, "Good." Then we have them all in one place, we can jump them and kick their asses. And he says, "Nope, nope, nope. We're just going to stand there." Well, if we do that, they're going to beat us. Yes. And then by so doing, we will change the soul of a country. Getting my ass kicked changes the soul of a country? Yes. So, show of hands, how many are down with me to go do this tomorrow? Yeah, I must be no Martin Luther King Jr., because that's a guy who was able to convince people to do that. To stand there while police dogs attack them and not fight back. Who convinced people to stand in front of fire hoses, get knocked down and blasted, and not fight back. How was he able to do that? He was intelligent, absolutely. But the hard things that there are to say, he found a way to say them. And not just to say them, but to say them to people who can in a way that people can understand. This is the hard thing, is that you can develop such a level of intelligence that you can't relate to people. And moreover, people can't relate to you. We can come in here and we can speak in these really big words. And I could come in here and talk about the categorical imperative. You guys know the categorical imperative? So uneducated. So how is that ever going to help me teach you what the categorical imperative is? You guys know what the golden rule is? What's the golden rule? Yeah, categorical imperative. Got it? So if anybody ever asks you what's the categorical imperative, for whatever reason, if someone jumps you and asks you to explain, 18th century German philosophy, they go, explain the categorical imperative, you can say, the golden rule. Oh, okay. Because the golden rule was written in such a way that it was designed to speak to people. It conveys the exact same idea. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. But you have a German in the 18th century writing to a philosophical audience who uses very big words to explain things. And then you've got a first century Jewish carpenter who's explaining something to people through what we call the golden rule. The question is going to be the audience, and the people who really move masses of people are not people who speak over other people's heads, but they're people who have the intelligence to grasp deep ideas and to make them, and I want to say simple because people aren't necessarily simple, but in such a way that it speaks to people, and it can actually change a life. I mean, the deepest ideas that we're going to encounter are going to be things that are so simple that we can understand them, but so profound that they can change our lives. It's about coming up with simple ways of expressing deep ideas, deep truths, because the deep truths are the things in life that we really need. But if we speak it in such a way that it's unapproachable by people, you might as well never say it in the first place. And then you can sit there in your room and use big words and be completely convinced of your own intelligence. But what's the purpose of these things? What's the purpose of intelligence? Well, maybe part of the purpose of intelligence is, of course, to gather yourself up, but it's also to help others, to be able to speak in such a way that can happen. The greatest failures of people I know, and I mean this on a personal, professional, and psychological level, are the people who preach this thing of only out for myself. And they turn out to be such miserable existences. All that shit goes right out the window when they have kids, or it doesn't. And then the kids end up just as miserable as them. I'm sure we all know people like this. And then it's interesting, like I was talking with somebody recently who has a job that he's not really qualified for. And he takes to heart this idea that you show up early and you stay late. And he doesn't get paid, of course, those extra hours. And people are always telling him, "Oh, you're so stupid, you're just a kiss ass. You get here early You come and you work early and then you stay afterwards. You're not even being paid for that. Whereas all of his other coworkers, they're clocking in, they're doing their work, they clock out and they go home. So it came time for promotion. This dude's only 20 years old. And he got a promotion over people who had been there for 15 years. Why? Because the guy who owns the company saw it. Pulled him in his office and said, "You remind me of myself at that age." You know? Because this is a guy who's made it. And what do people who made it want to do? They don't want to just sit on their yachts. They want to bring other people along. They want to see other people do well. We have this convoluted idea that people who do well want to see other people struggle. And that's just not the case, man. It's just not the case. And I'd encourage you to talk to actually successful people. I'm not just saying people who are kind of moderate, but really successful people. And these are people who might have trouble explaining things, but they can convey it with their actions. You know, there's an intelligence, there's mental intelligence. There's also intelligence of being able to convey ideas. That's important. So, the world's composed of people who have something to say and can't. They might be smart, they might not be. Who knows? We don't know, because we won't understand what they're saying. And then, of course, the other half who have nothing to say, but they keep on saying it. And that's the unfortunate thing, is that a lot of times those are the people who change things, because we actually get to hear it. If you only get to hear the ideas of a person who has nothing to say, but they keep saying it, at least we can hear it, and that's the kind of thing that gets into our heads. And again, that's one of the reasons that we study this stuff, so that we don't fall into that trap, so we can hear someone talking and say, "Nah, that's not quite right. That's not what they're saying, it doesn't make sense." It doesn't make sense. And then not fall into it. Lots of other people will, this is true, but be patient with other people. Understand why they're falling into it. They're not good with words. They're not good with sentiments. But if nothing else, we should develop the ability to convey ideas, because, I mean, is there anything else in your life that's more worth conveying than your feelings of love? Is there anything that's worth conveying more than admitting your flaws so that you can fix them? Not to beat yourself up, so that you can fix them, and being able to explain what it is that's motivating you and why. To be able to compliment yourself in meaningful ways. To be able to share your secrets with somebody, a specific somebody, so that you can be known fully and completely, and not be a divided person who only shows part of yourself and hides the rest of yourself. Because then you realize that you're only being loved for the parts that you show. I mean, how wonderful would it be to be able to show everything to somebody and be loved anyway? So, if nothing else, I can't think of any other reason to be good at articulating yourself, except to do all of these things right here. Completely meaningful and worthwhile. And once you can sort those things out, if at that point you say, "I feel like I've got something bigger to say," and then you start speaking to audiences, mass audiences, well, then you're going to, it's a whole different set of problems, but the same idea. So, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms?